Our children had missed a whole year's schooling except for the month when the miner taught them nothing. She worked early and late with them, giving them homework and helping them with it in the evenings. By working diligently, she brought them all through their year's work by the 1st of July. Little Albert, who was only 2.5 years old, loved Miss Van Doorman and wanted to go to school with the other children. In the warm weather, when the schoolroom door was left open, the baby would play in front of the door. One day, Miss Van Doorman, to keep him from disrupting lessons, told him to go out and catch a butterfly for her, never dreaming that he could catch one. He was chubby and slow, but he worked for hours, toddling along after them in the sagebrush. Finally, right in front of the schoolroom door, he caught one. I was out hanging clothes, and I could hear him saying gleefully, "I caught a butterfly for the teacher, caught a butterfly." I turned around and saw him start toward the schoolroom door with a beaming face. Just then a turkey ran to meet him and grabbed the butterfly from his hand. The ecstatic look on his face changed in an instant to one of grief. Miss Van Doorman, who had been watching him through the open door, gathered him up in her arms, saying, "This dear baby has earned a day in the schoolroom." Catching butterflies for Miss Van Doorman became a must for Albert from that time on, and they were never bothered no more with him, for he never caught another one. When our state school superintendent visited our school, he told me that Miss Van Doorman was one of the best educators Nevada ever known, and not to expect her, with her talent and ability, to be wasted on our little schoolroom another year. But we were always especially blessed in securing good teachers. We kept them only a year, however, as our little school was always just a stepping stone for them to something better. Now that our school was going, the big sum of $20 a month was coming in for teachers' board, which would more than buy our groceries for the whole family for 9 months of the year. Miss Bennett's plan had worked out well, and after she sold her place, we fell heir to the whole district and had school for 9 months instead of 5. This was our second year on the homestead, and it began to look more and more like a success. In June, Daddy went into town for supplies and miraculously met my brother, Dave, who was combing the town looking for some trace of me. He had lived in Australia, and I hadn't heard from him in many years. He had been back to Chicago on business, and while visiting our relatives in Iowa, had heard that I was living in Reno, Nevada. He was lucky enough to meet Daddy on a trip in. Daddy didn't have time to come out with our slow horse and wagon, so he rented the livery team in Surrey, and he and Daddy started out. They arrived at 10 p.m. We were all in bed, and I hadn't expected A.J. till the next day. I heard A.J.'s voice, then, hark, I heard a voice out of the past. Strange how memory of a voice stays with one over the years. I jumped out of bed barefooted, clad only in my nightgown, and ran out of doors crying, "Davey, Davey, where in the world did you come from?" "From the other side of the world," he said. "Down under, as we Australians call it." We talked till after midnight, when he had to get a little sleep. He was catching a train the next day for San Francisco and then a boat for Australia. He only had a few hours to spend with me. We put him to bed with Edson in the lounge in the kitchen. He was up next morning at daybreak and went to stand on the little rise in front of the house and look over the layout. I, not wanting to miss a minute's visit with him, got up and followed him out. We stood there on the hill together looking over the place. How he must have pitied me with all my little children, a semi-invalid husband, and an unimproved homestead. I didn't think so then, for in my mind I could see the place differently. I envisioned green alfalfa fields, big haystacks, and great herds of cattle roaming over the hills. I felt sure he could see them too. Dave was a self-made man. He had gone to work for the Diamond Drill Company of Chicago when he was a lad of 13 as a chore boy, and had steadily risen in worth till now he owned a fourth interest in the company's Australian holdings, and was their general manager over there, including Australia, Tasmania, and New Zealand. I knew Davey would see things my way. I proudly asked, "Well, Dave, what do you think of the layout?" It was a bold question, and I wanted a true answer, but I wanted his answer to be what I wanted it to be. Surely he would give me some encouragement. He drew himself up and said, "Well, Sadie, if you've the guts to stay with it, you'll make it good. But by God, it'd take Mammy's own grit to do it." I almost duplicated my mother's life. She had raised 9 children on a farm with a semi-invalid husband. Then Davy offered, I'll loan you money to buy cattle, farm implements, or anything you need to make success of the ranch. I've plenty of money, and it would be a great pleasure to me to help you now. You can repay me later." My false pride kept me from accepting his offer. I would have none of it. Our place was not a success as yet, and if it failed, I wanted to be the only loser. He smiled, and I think he was proud of me, for he said, "If you ever do get a place where you need help, let me know." What a wonderful backbone that put in my plans. It was great to know and to feel that I could always get help if I needed it. The offer was always my ace in the hole. Dave left about 10 o'clock that day, and upon leaving he pressed a paper bill into the baby's hand, which I supposed was $1. When I looked later, I found it to be $100 bill.